Welcome to Foundation Friday. The dedication and covenant of silent unity was signed on December 7th, 1892 by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, founders of the Unity movement. It is unlikely when they signed this covenant that they had any idea how far-reaching unity would be as it evolved into the church we know and love today. We invite you to join us as we explore and share some of the original ideas, teachings, and writings of the men and women who created the foundation of the Unity Church.
Hi, thank you for joining us today for our Foundation Friday program. Today, we are once again going back in time to enjoy the wisdom and the words of Unity minister, teacher, and celebrated author Eric Butterworth. This is Mr. Butterworth's Essays on Abundant Living, number 86. He had much to share with us. He actually delivered this essay as a sermon in 1975 on September 23rd. And the title of this lesson is From Mourners to Masters. Okay, so here we go. Life in the world today seems to some a little short of futile. To others, it is an ever exciting and glorious experience. Life will always be to you what you see it as being. You live in a world of your thought. You are the creator at the very center of your world. Another fundamental is that life can be appraised on many different levels, from the most base to the most absolute. What we see depends not upon our outer reality, but on the level at which we view the outer reality. To all of us at times, it seems that everyone is against us, that there is no justice, no future to look forward to. But this happens because we have narrowed our point of view. As the psalmist says, we need to lift up our eyes into the hills. A great character of the Bible whose life is like a Hollywood scenario is Elijah, who was Jehovah's champion in a hostile land where polytheism, the worship of many gods, was the accepted religion. Against overwhelming odds, he had slain some 450 prophets of Baal, understandingly bringing down upon his head the wrath of Queen Jezebel. Elijah fled for his life, discouraged, tired, and downhearted. He had sat down under a juniper tree and cried out, "It is enough now, O Jehovah, take away my life." Well, we have all had times just like this. Even Jesus had such fleeting moments, such as when he wept over the state of Jerusalem, or when he prayed, "Let this cup pass from me." But Jesus didn't mourn for long. Inherently, he was ever the master of his thought, and this mastery always took over and lifted him to new courage and optimism. It is a problem in our lives that we build great self limiting walls around us. Then we proceed to mourn over lack of freedom and to lament the darkness that ensues in our lives. Nevertheless, we keep on building them, even though they are really the basis of our limitations and the loss of our freedom. It has been said that most of us carry our own stumbling block around with us, camouflaged by our hat. Anyone who becomes a great person does so because he refuses to be a little person. He refuses to see with the narrowness of a little person or to be dammed in by the walls of limitation that are accepted by a little person. The great person refuses to be a mourner, to walk in darkness. He refuses to allow the obstacles to defeat him. In short, he acts the role of the master. In the 61st chapter of Isaiah is found this great bit of wisdom. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings to the meek. He hath set me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. This has always been held to be a prophecy of the coming of Christ and a praise for and certainly Jesus read this chapter in the temple at Nazareth. He startled the worshippers by saying, "This day hath Scripture been fulfilled." This was taken to infer that he was the one about whom prophecy had been made. But this is to miss the whole biblical message and the very meaning of prophecy. The promise refers to all persons. Jesus claimed it for himself, but then went on to devote his life to helping others claim it for themselves too. Isaiah's words are intended to enable you to see the good even in changes where something cherished has been consumed or destroyed. The oil of joy for mourning denotes joy of spirit, which will enable things to run smoothly once again. The garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness bespeaks the new clothing of the mind, which beholds the good in people and situations rather than permitting oneself to be borne down under the heavy weight of despair. In total dejection under the juniper tree, Elijah's prayer was a complete surrender to God. Then he dropped off to sleep. He let go. We are told that an angel touched him, meaning a divine idea, and instructed him to journey on. For 40 days and 40 nights he traveled until he reached Mount Horeb. There he experienced the profound revelation that God, or true reality, is not in the wind or in the earthquake or in the fire, but it is in that small, still voice of God. This account was one of dynamic and dramatic experiences of the annals of man's struggle for growth and of his search for truth. In it, Elijah was brought to see and to know that regardless of how life seemed to crumble around him, he could remain strong and secure. He learned that the only reality was that still small voice within. And with this, he was protected and guided. This is the great need for all of us. We are embroiled, consumed, despondent over the storms, the earthquakes, the fires, the very chaos of life. But God is within us. Whatever the conditions are, whatever the appearances, we must look at the words of the 91st Psalm, which say, "The Lord is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust." Become a divine optimist. Reject gloomy pessimism. In the morning consciousness, you think of all the good experiences and happy memories as in the past. And thus the future is to be feared. It appears bleak with nothing but the morning habit or the garment of heaviness for today. But life goes on. And if we can just get ourselves out of the way, tremendous good can ensue. As someone said, take the you out of mourning. In other words, the letter U, and it becomes morning, as in daybreak. Here in Manhattan, there is so much constant demolition of old buildings that one might think a great catastrophe has occurred. There are many who resist changes and therefore deplore the tearing down of this or that structure in order to hold on to the past. But those of us who are alert to the times know that the old is forever being replaced by the new. The rubble, the dust, the debris, they will disappear. And new, clean, useful buildings will rise up to take their place in the city of New York. There is in every life a great deal of demolition. People pass away, scenes change, the world moves on forever. Persons sometimes seem to come to me in the spirit of the mourner, wearing that garment of heaviness, saying, perhaps, that they are the only one left. But God remains still, that still small voice, and with every change the opportunity for a new beginning is yours if you will just accept it. I love the thought of Ella Willer Wilcox. Build on resolve and not regret the structure of thy future. Do not grope among the shadows of the old sins, but let thine own soul's light shine on the path of hope and dissipate the darkness. Waste no tears upon the blotted record of lost years, but turn the leaves and smile. Oh, smile to see thy fair white pages that remain for thee. Ours is the choice. Be we mourners or masters? Shall we bow down and worship pain and sorrow and grief and discouragement? The rapid immortality of our times, the crime, the high cost of living, and become thus chronic mourners, wearing the garment of heaviness? Or shall we lift up our eyes to the hills, look beyond the circle of appearances, and know that God is not to be found in these things, but in the still small voice, the larger view, and know that all this too shall pass, and thus become a master of life. On the side of the mourner, there are many reasons to be cited for cursing God: disease, financial insecurity, loss of friends and loved ones. Or you can get on the side of the one who can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. In all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. I value the optimism expressed by Edna St. Vincent Millay, who was a master, even though she had good reason to be a mourner. She had been left penniless, and at the time she wrote to her sister and said, "Don't worry about me. To pretend that it is no agony would be silly, but I can cope." The spirit of willingness to be a master instead of a mourner is reflected in her remarkable poems, such as "This world stands out on either side, no wider than the heart is wide. Above the world is stretched the sky, no higher than the soul is high. The heart can push the sea and land, farther away on either hand. The soul can spit the sky in two and let the face of God shine through. Remember that the Spirit of the Lord is upon you to comfort all that mourn, to give beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Be a positive person, the optimistic person. Be the master of living. You can, if only you will. Wow, that was quite a lesson, quite a sermon. I always enjoy the way he turns a phrase. I love the idea of the oil of joy for the mourner. I really hope that we all know that mourning is a process of change and of grief. But as we go through the heaviness of those feelings, we are able to lift our eyes and see beyond this moment into all that can be. I hope you enjoyed that reading. I hope you enjoy Eric Butterworth. This lesson and so many more of Mr. Butterworth's works are available to you at truthunity.net. If you aren't familiar with that site, it's filled with wonderful resources. Before we go, please know you are sacred. You matter. And you are so, so very loved. Namaste.
Thank you for joining us, and let's stay connected and grow in spirit. We are on Facebook. Search for Unity Church of El Cajon and follow us and like our posts. You can reach us on YouTube at Unity Church of El Cajon. Please subscribe to our channel, watch our videos, and leave comments which can help us improve. We are on the web at unityofelcajon.org. Email or call our church office to receive our weekly newsletters, which lists all of our activities and opportunities to learn and grow together.